Good morning. It's always very disadvantageous for people like us who are below 5'6" to be standing behind something like this. So good morning. My slides are up. So my name is Kenny. I'm from Astro. I'm from Malaysia. For those of you who are not from Malaysia, welcome to our country and hope that you have a good time with our food and our drinks. We have a lot of pubs if you're interested. 2 nights are not enough for a pub crawl in Malaysia. Okay, so welcome and represent Astro. And of course, for today, I'll be speaking about the sound of the future. It's a very daunting crowd here because when I look at you, I'm looking at people with years of experience. Those of you who know me, I'm very new to radio. I've just taken this role 1.5 years. So compared to many of you, I'm very new to radio. I came from the Universal Music Group, where we handle artists and labels, so I was from the other side of the table. So what I'm going to present here are not radio stuff. Because the radio stuff you already know, right? Whatever I say, you already know and you're already doing it. So I'm going to present slightly different. I'm going to present from my view when I was back in the music label and also handling media in general, how radio fits into everything and how audio fits into how we're going to move forward. And some of the things that I've learned and I want to share here in the 15 minutes I have. This is the audio battlefield we have today. Some of you are on some small points. Some of you are on much bigger points depending on where you are. I know Australia is very advanced. You most likely have taken over the whole map by now. Some of us in Malaysia, we are just starting in a little dot somewhere there. So we are on different journeys, right? And it's a very big map to play with. So, and it's a lot of things to study. So those of us who are coming into the radio industry now face a very daunting task. Last time we just learned about FM. Now we have to learn about all these things with terminologies that we cannot even pronounce. So it's tough. So I'm going to start with this. Like I said, I'm going to take slightly away from radio. You know what this is, right? McDonald's? How many of you here think that McDonald's is the best beef burger in the world? They are a client of ours, so I'm biased. No? No one? I've asked this question in 20 years of speaking, and never have once that I have a room who say, yes, McDonald's is the best beef burger in the world. So it's actually quite iffy, because it depends on who you ask. But if you ask Malaysians, right, we'll say the #1 beef burger in Malaysia and in the world is Ramly Burger. If you haven't tried, you should try it for the Malaysians who are nodding their head. Ramly Burger is a very messy burger. You cannot eat with one hand. The sauce will go all over you, right? So it's a major cause of accidents for people driving and eating the burger at the same time. So McDonald's burger has never been voted as the best beef burger in the world in any of the countries that I've spoken in any of the speeches I've spoken in. And it's quite unanimous. Most of you think so, because when I asked you the same question, you said, nah. But let me ask you the next question. Who sells the most beef burgers in the world? McDonald's. So what has product got to do with anything? A lot of us don't understand what the product is. That's the problem with strategy. We think a product is a feature. We think a product is something that you try to do. But if you look at McDonald's, they have maintained the same taste in the beef burger for 20 years running. I don't think it tastes the same 20 years. Tastes the same 20 years ago, and they spent billions of dollars in R&D, and yet the beef burger tastes the same. So the question is, what is the product? And I'll explain that later, because the reason why McDonald's sells the most beef burger in the world, because to them, the product is not the product. And I'll explain a little bit more. And then I think most of us in the media, and when I came from Universal, we had to understand this point, that when we create a product, it's not just the feature, it's the ecosystem around it. And that will bring sustenance to the business model. That's the key point that I'm going to talk about later. So the future of sound, the first thing is, this was us many years ago, right? And you all know this. And the great unbundling of radio happened. And this is what happened to all of us. And now we are in the third stage. We are now, all of us in this room are trying to reinvent and bring everything back into this, right? In one way or another, from FM, especially on the digital side. And for those of us who are, doing different stuff. So this is our strategy. I'm sorry I cannot fit more brands in. These are the ones I can find, the logos I can use. But many of you in this room are doing the same thing here in China and in Korea and in Australia, in New Zealand. This is the Media Universe 2022 as of first half of 2022. This is the media and entertainment universe. Radio is a very small dot in this huge universe. If you want, you can follow this person called Ivan Shapiro. He actually maps this universe every 3 months based on revenue and based on size. So one thing I would like to say is that for those of us who are really, really so into radio, I would recommend for us to look at a larger view of where radio and audio sits in a much larger entertainment world. and why we need to strike partnerships way beyond audio and radio for us to survive. If we only focus on just radio and audio and podcasting, we will not survive in this world. Our dot will get smaller and smaller, and we'll have a problem. So we need to know how to play in this large universe that's getting worse, because it's being controlled by masters of the ecosystem, and we need to be partnership somehow in this ecosystem to be able to survive, especially with ad dollars and sponsorship and consumers trying to get attention. So the battle for us is on attention, and these are where we are. This is the audio landscape, video, and then you've got the rest. So we've got to play our cards right. And this is the ever-expanding media universe, print, TV, radio, billboards. I presented this last week in a media conference. This is the new world now. This is TV, video. This is all the TV, video terminologies that we have to learn for those who are in TV and video. This is the audio. Some of you recognize some of these terms. This is out of home, the new changes that are coming to out of home. And those of us who are dealing with digital will be dealing with this. So it's a very, very complicated world, and everything is fighting for attention. So we have got to know. So I think one of the key things we have to understand is that our battle are not with each other. It's not with each radio station or another podcast. Our battle for attention is actually in a much wider universe. And we need to know, and we need to have tools to be able to battle in this much larger map than before. And this is what we mean by attention. So a lot of people are trying to create this thing called the attention metrics. If you Google it, you'll find it, instead of ratings and all this kind of thing. So this is a new metrics that people are trying to find out how to do it. But the three things matter in attention and trying to get somebody's attention. First is how much time you can hold a person. The second is how much they can understand what you're trying to say. And the third one is recall. So if you get these three things right, you have attention. If you can't get this, you don't have attention. You only have metrics. How many people view your website, how many people listen. That is not attention. And sooner or later, your ad partners, the people who are spending money in your radio, will be asking for this. They're not going to be asking for ratings. This is a Chinese saying. Cow don't drink water, cannot push cow head down. Which means no matter how hard you try to push, I don't know whether Malays have the same saying or not. I know it's a Chinese saying. It's very tough because this is the same way of us trying to get attention, especially for us in the advertising world who are trying to shout the message to get people to understand what the message is. We can't do that because most people just don't want. The louder your ad doesn't mean more people will pay attention to it. The more frequent your ad doesn't mean people will pay attention to it. It's trying to make a cow drink water. But once a friend told me, he said, Kenny, the best way to make a cow drink water is not to try to drag it, is to put salt in their grass. So after they eat it, they get thirsty and they go and drink. So that's what we have to do. So because we have to manage a lot of cows, which are our audience, right? So in order to drag them, right, we need to create an ecosystem. Like I said, it's not just dragging them. We need to create something. We need to put something else to make them go to the water. It's not just trying to, do that sell. And to be able to do that, we need to do this. Again, I only have 15 minutes, right? So I'm going 30 seconds per slide. You can go back and refer to these slides, right? So this is what we need to do in terms of creating the ecosystem. I spoke about McDonald's just now. To create the attention that you want to be able to get your audience that you need. I won't speak here very much, but I'll just go past this. I'm going to number 2. Actually, I numbered it wrongly. The second is understanding your audience, right? So for guys, I'm asking the guys first, do you recognize the black color bag right on the right-hand corner? I'm not asking the ladies first because all the ladies are smiling. Guys, do you know what this is? Guys will say, especially husbands, if you say this is a bag, you're in trouble. Ladies, do you know what this is? Anyone can shout what the left side thing is? It's a Chanel. What model? 255. Okay, it's limited edition. Why do women buy that bag? It's not cheap. I think, how much is that? 5,000 US or I can't remember, 10,000 US is around that range. It's beyond what I will buy anyway, but that's a bag. But it's much desired. So if you ask a typical woman, why do I buy that bag? Do you think the answer is because I want to put stuff in it? No, that's not the answer, right? They buy the bag because of something else. Prestige, peer pressure, maybe to make themselves feel good. So people never buy things because of the feature. People never buy things because of what we advertise. People buy things because there is a job to be done. JPDD, this is a very important term to learn. When we buy and spend money on certain things, when we want to pay attention to certain things, there's a reason why we consume certain things. It's not what we sell, it's not on the benefit, it's not on the brochure. Why do guys collect Rolex? If you say it's to tell time, then I'll say it's rubbish. It's for the same reason, right? You buy a Rolex, it's not because it's a watch. It's because it's something that you hold when you meet with friends, when you drink beer, you show it with your left hand. Right? So that's why we buy Rolex. Why do people buy IBMs in the 1980s? Remember what was their ad? People never get fired for buying an IBM. So why do IT managers in the past buy IBM in the 80s, 70s? Because if you buy IBM, something goes wrong, the procurement will not blame you, your boss will not blame you, because you bought an IBM. People buy IBM not because it's a good computer, because it's the safest computer to buy. It's not because of the feature. Why do people buy Mercedes, especially in Asia? Do you know, for those of you who are not from Asia? Why do people buy Mercedes compared to a BMW, compared to an Audi? No, it's not prestige. It's a very weird answer for the Chinese especially, for Asians. We buy Mercedes compared to the rest of the other brands because it has better second-hand value. That's the only reason we buy Mercedes. If you ask any typical Chinese in a coffee shop outside, why do you buy Mercedes or what do you think of the brand? They'll say they buy Mercedes because it's better second-hand value. It has nothing to do with the features of the car. Okay? Why do people buy Domino's? So I'm going on and on. People don't buy Domino's because it's the best pizza in the world. People buy Domino's because I want my food absolutely delivered below 30 minutes. Otherwise, my kids will kill me. Right? Same reason why people buy Starbucks. Do you think it's the best coffee in the world? No, because it's the best halfway house in the world. I get free Wi-Fi and I can plug to electricity without extra payment. So these are all the reasons people... So we must understand that when we build a brand in our radio, our audio, our podcast, or our app, it's nothing to do with the features. It's nothing to do with what we're trying to sell. The question you have to ask ourselves is, why do people tune into your channel? Why do people want to download your app? It's nothing to do with the features. It's to do what is the job to be done. And it's usually not on the surface. And you have to find out why. Each product has its own meaning. Each product has the reason why people want to tune in to your particular channel or program. So we have to create the why for them. Again, not just the features. Amazon just bought Roomba. Why? Of all companies, they spent $2 billion. Because the Roomba has one of the most powerful first-party data in the world. Because the Roomba can map your whole house and tell you where your Lego is. And they will send the data back to Amazon. People don't tell, if you read behind the lines, that's what they're doing. And why? Because the battle for data and for audience is number one. So for us in the audio family, you have to fight for audience. So ratings is something that is going to go away very soon. Those who own the first-party data in this new world will win. It's about addressable, it's about targeting, it's about addressable TV, addressable audio, addressable everything. Addressable means you are able to target. I'm running out of time, right? So, and content is no more king. Those who say it is are from the 1990s. The king is somebody who owns all this. This is what we call the last mile. And this is radio 1.0 to 4.0. I only have up to 3.0. I don't have 4.0 yet. Actually, I have in Astro, but it's because it's trade secret, so I won't tell you what it is. Because I have competitors here, actually. So, but if you are a partner with us, please email me, and I'll show it to you. And these are things we should look out for, other than what I'm going to say and what the presenters are going to say. If you don't understand of this, I would like to point out one important thing is West versus China. A lot of us, I noticed that we do a lot of case studies about Spotify and Apple, about technology coming out from the West. But many people actually underestimate what are the technologies coming out from China and Korea and Japan. If you have not been to China and stepped into China for the past 3 years, you don't know what you are doing as far as technology is concerned. You think the West have superior technology. You have not seen what China has. Far, far more superior in terms of AI, voice activation, and the things they do in China. They have got a smart speaker in China now that does nothing except answer queries for parents of 1-year-olds and new babies. So the smart speaker does nothing, right? Nothing except answer queries for new parents. That's how powerful the AI has become and how specific it has become. When we are very, very far behind, actually, if you compare to China. So again, why McDonald's? Let me just come back to the point. McDonald's is the #1 beef burger in the world because of 2 words, 2 C's. Consistency. Anywhere in the world, they promise you, in any part of Asia, Europe, anywhere that you eat in McDonald's, they promise you the same bad-tasting burger. No more, no less. It tastes the same everywhere you go. That's why every student who goes to overseas, what do they first go for? McDonald's, because it's the most comforting thing in the world, right? So understand that that's the first C. So consistency is the power of McDonald's. The other one is convenience. They have the most 24-hour outlets. They were the ones that started 3 o'clock morning breakfast in the middle of nowhere. They were the ones with the most playground. They're the ones with most drive-through and the most efficient drive-through in the world. So they used those 2 C's to build the pillar for the business. That's why they sell the most beef burgers in the world. Understand the product is not the product. And this is why, at the end of the day, for us to survive and for us to build the business, we need to understand what our DNA is, what's specialty, how we survive in the entire ecosystem. The red ones are the ones that I point out that are unique to us in audio and in radio. But I guess most of all, I'm very proud, after some years in Universal coming out to radio, I'd like to end by saying that I'm very proud to be in radio and audio because of the things that we can do as a community, far beyond what the other streaming services and far beyond what entertainment can do for the people, especially like in Malaysia, how we help people when in times of when we had big floods and we need to send flood relief kits. We were the first on the scene. We were the first. When COVID hit, the radio, all of us here were the first ones to tell the world how dangerous COVID was. The rest fell behind. When there's something that needs to be done for the community, when something needs to be done for the people that we love, radio is always first. And that is why I love radio today. Thank you very much.